what's going on in the state. And I'm not going to go through all these things, but just know that this is started in 2010, okay? The folks said in '09, we'd like to get together. And we listened, and this is what's evolved. There are now, in the state of Wisconsin, it's been kind of flat for about 4 or 5 months. We haven't gone through 2,000 people interested. We don't have a web page. All we have is an email list that's confidential. So here's what's going on. And all of these cities are organic. There's no control. Do what you want. Take the journey as you see it. Start wherever you are and try to meet the needs of others and enable other people to grow. And in the process of that, of course, you're growing. And it's organic. So the Turbo has a master's in servant leadership. They've got a great asset net community. They have learning community quarterly meetings. They have, in the school district, they have a program going on right now. The consulting with other companies through the university and community leaders. They've got an association with Dublin. Who knows where that will go? They have a compassion project going on in the community. Green Bay, completely different approach. They're focusing on how-to, a lot of how-tos. They bring in keynote speakers, business owners, leaders, not the same as we're doing here, but it began that way. They're going to have their second annual summit. They have about 130 people that attend their meetings, but the profile is quite different than this profile. Milwaukee, we've got monthly discussions at the Ambassador Hotel. Go once or twice a year if you're jammed and get the notes, because the notes, I told Dan, you got a book going here, summarizing what people talk about in just 60 minutes. We now in Milwaukee, just this last week, Dan and Yvonne, and Dan raised his hand, Yvonne, raise your hand, and David, you've met him, and Jim, raise your hand. This is the new committee in Milwaukee, and they're going to listen. They're going to take all the post-meeting reactions, which are at the back of your package. You should be making notes on that. And they'll use that information to decide what to do. And use the information coming out of the Ambassador Hotel, which they have a representative for. And they have this group is a very nice spectrum of talent and backgrounds. And so they will, if you got an idea, you want to do something, go recommend it, and they're highly probable to say, go ahead. And we'll do whatever we can to support you. That is the spirit of it. Madison is the newest city. Fond du Lac has been long in the making, 15 years. And just a few years ago, a foundation said, instead of being a grantor, we are going to be an advocate for servant leadership. That's their focus. So they have a part-time person, and they have learning circles, virtual leadership learning circles. They have scholarships, meetings of servant leaders, annual workshops and series. This little entourage that we have to the other 4 cities does not go to Fond du Lac. They have groups of people, round tables, representing all aspects of the community. Some very sweet things going on there, particularly with the police department. Networking in Wisconsin. We just finished a statewide survey, and we said, is there any interest in having a 1.5 day or something, a very short conference? And 89% said yes, and now we got to decide what to do with that. The response was, I think, 8 or 10%, so you always have this question, will the whole 2,000 respond the same way that the others responded? And we'll see. We'll have to, I'll give you another piece of information here in a minute. The Milwaukee meetings are being put on YouTube. The first one just went on like a week ago. Now this is a week ago. I had one person, I don't know if they're here or not, they said, I looked at that, I've been on your list, I've never gone to a meeting, but I'm getting to the next meeting. Another person mentioned to me, this is just a week ago, I used the YouTube presentation for our management trainees. Another situation, I used that presentation for our command briefings for all our top executives in the community to make a point of how this man was not a natural servant leader he represented. And here's my journey, and here's how it worked for me. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. But know that the people that give us permission to put it on will be out there from these meetings. And along with that, if you have people, it's the only way this works, that you think would be interested in this, send them something and say, hey, I think you ought to get into this network. And they can decide. Materials, this is probably the last time we're going to be having materials here because everybody, I think, has, for the bulk of the people, have bought what they want. But you can go to the Greenleaf Center site and you will see these books. The Servant Leader, that's a little orange booklet. There's a sample outside. And it's the kind of booklet people at a world level have said, I spent reading it the rest of my life. The Case for Servant Leadership is a nuts and bolts, hour-and-a-half read, just full of examples of how it works in different kinds of organizations. Questions and answers are the result of 5 years of a CEO at the Greenleaf Center saying, this is what people asked me, these are the answers I gave them. Servant leadership in the boardroom, listening, and humility are really important elements of being an effective leader as far as I'm concerned, but in servant leadership it is a must. Internationally, the annual conference will be September 24 and 26 in Atlanta. Put it on your calendar. These are the things I asked the Greenleaf Center, what would you like me to tell people in Wisconsin, and here's what they gave us. Organizational development workshops. There's a speakers bureau for whatever you call them up and say I want this or that about servant leadership, and they will offer someone, it's for pay, but they have a network of people that they've vetted. You can be assured of the quality. In the world of servant leadership, this is a map that you've seen before. The #1 place in the world interest is the Philippines. Exactly what you might think, right? I want to go to Philippines to find this out. Why? #2 is Singapore, 3 is Europe, and 4 is the United States. I will also tell you that what's happening in the world is it's servant leadership in the world is kind of like, it's almost, I hate to say this even, but it resonates with people. It is the hot item in leadership. There have been researchers that have, now this is at a world research level, published in world level academic journals, define the difference between all other styles of leadership, or many other styles, the popular ones, and servant leadership. And what they found was servant leadership and all these other styles were the same. They just have different words, different ways of representing it. Except servant leadership was unique to all the others. And I have, actually I'm going to read to you. There's 7 aspects of servant leadership that are unique. They all are kind of in an area of community. The whole, bringing the whole together and you with the whole. Creating value for community, conceptual skills, emotional healing, empowering, helping others grow and succeed, putting followers first, behaving ethically. All of those are community. There is a lady who I've mentioned to you before that wrote a book, Spiritual Capital. She's in the quantum world. And she proves without a doubt, with all the scientists in the world, a metaphor that inside the atom are all these particles roaming around, and they hit the outside of the atom. I mean, lots of power. They're just kind of crazy behavior. Nobody can track it. Nobody can figure it out. But if you get the 2 particles together, and each one of us are particles, if you get 2 of those to hit just correctly, you can have a nuclear explosion. And that's all of us. But you cannot predict it. It's uncontrollable. The Newtonian world that's been built for us is represented as controllable, and if you can't control it, more policies, more procedures, because then you can control the outcome. That's Newton in the 1700s. So just know that each one of you are a particle inside that atom, in this world, the universe, and every one of you have that possibility. If your expectations are to serve, it's very easy to be successful. Are you serving or aren't you? Do you have expectations? That means you're driving it. If you don't have any expectations, now you may have accountabilities, you may have things you've got to deliver in a responsibility area, but watch out for the I to come popping up. That's a sign.